Apparently all these people are criminals. I don't know how else to say it. Now, we already knew that, right? That's kind of anecdotal evidence, but it appears that all of these folks, these high-powered individuals, especially the people that we don't like a lot, are not doing the things that we have to do when it comes to all of these standard practices of Americans and American families. Adam Schiff, Letitia James, and Lisa Cook, the fired Fed governor who's going to be suing, and that's going to be a whole thing that we're going to keep track of, all have been accused of mortgage fraud. Now, mortgage fraud at what capacity? Because a lot of people just see, oh, it's mortgage fraud, mortgage fraud. We've got a breakdown of what actually they're being accused of, and specifically what exactly is happening. And lastly, I think, why I think I trust the Justice Department here, because, we'll get to why that is. First one up, Adam Schiff, former congressman and current California senator who was the face of the lying about Russiagate. If you remember Adam Schiff, he was made famous in conservative circles for the guy that was said, I've seen the evidence. It's in plain sight. And then they go, oh, well, what is it? Well, it'll come out eventually. As we talked about yesterday, it was an Obama/Hillary Clinton orchestrated mumbo jumbo nonsense scheme. And here's the thing that's interesting about that. I don't know. Actually, let me scratch that. I think I'm very confident that Adam Schiff was out of the loop of that. I don't think he was at the time a big enough power player in Democratic politics to know that Hillary, Obama, Clapper, Comey, everybody just made that whole thing up. Because when you're pulling off a conspiracy at that level, you got to keep the circle tight. And the circle was tight. And we're just now finding out that Obama, I think, played a big role in that whole debacle. And because the circle has to be tight by nature, guys like Adam Schiff, they weren't involved. He had no idea. He probably actually was like, yeah, dude, I think there's something there. I think something is there that is worth us looking into. And I'm going to go on all of the cable news shows and I'm going to say all of the most incendiary things against President Trump. And eventually it'll be true. Not knowing that I bet Obama was at home watching his TV going, like, oh my gosh, this guy, we made it up. He has no idea we made it up. Somebody tell him that we made it up. While he's sitting there saying, I've seen the evidence in plain sight. Now, none of that has any sort of, there's no reason why that has anything to do with this. I mean, it is true that we don't like Adam Schiff, but also it is true that according to him, according to their own libs, no one is above the law. We'll get to Letitia James in just a second. Bill Pulte claims that Adam Schiff falsified mortgage documents between 2003 and 2019, which is a long time of falsifying documents. I think there are multiple issues here, multiple properties. It says it's just as much, including multiple properties in Maryland and California. Schiff allegedly claimed both his Maryland property and his California property as his primary residence simultaneously in order to obtain favorable rates, which I know that's true. You can do that. Not lie, but you can say, hey, this is my primary residence. The house we're in now is our primary residence, and we've got a pretty stinking good mortgage rate. Now, I'll say we bought this particular place right in the midst of COVID where we are now. But mortgage rate, very, very, very low. And that's great. We like it. I'm not complaining at all. But at the same time, I wasn't lying when I said this is my primary residence. Other people, on the other hand, congressmen, people that are above the law, apparently will lie systematically on all of their paperwork and say, well, this is my primary residence, and this also is my primary residence, and this one over here, that's also my primary residence. Now, we talked a lot about this with Schiff specifically. His Washington, D.C. area house is unbelievable. It has doubled in value since he bought it when he was a congressman. It is a sprawling, I think, 3,400 square foot house on the lake, on the Potomac. It's super nice. It's unbelievably nice. Now, the house that he has in Southern California in the LA area, specifically in Burbank, which are the people he represents. That's how Congress works. You have people who live in Washington, D.C., and then they rent a very small place, buy a very small place in another city, and they represent those people in that city. Of course, that's not how it works. You're supposed to live in the place that you represent, but Adam Schiff does not do that. He has a massive, very, very nice Washington, D.C. home. And in Burbank, California, he has a one-bedroom condo. But that's where he lives full-time. He lives primarily in both places. But specifically, when he goes to California, I doubt he even stays there. Because it is a dumpy. I'm not going to show it to you because well, okay, you can find it. I don't feel the need. I've had this kind of like tug and pull of whether or not I should show these things because I really don't want these people to get doxxed at all. I doubt they would afford me the same kindness, decency. But I don't know. That's not my business. We showed pictures of his house in D.C. before, but again, that's just because it was widely publicized. His house, his condo in Burbank is a dump. It is a one-bedroom, tiny little place, and I'm not trying to necessarily demean the people that live in that building in addition to him. What I'm trying to say is, relative to his Washington, D.C. house, there's no shot that Adam Schiff should be able to claim that he lives in Los Angeles and then goes to D.C. to represent the people of Los Angeles. No, that's not the case at all. But the bottom line is, typically, primary residence loans are anywhere from 0.5 to 1% cheaper than investment property loans, which is that's a big difference. I mean, clearly. The evidence that was cited was mortgage applications and property records showing overlapping primary residences. This is just for the one guy, Adam Schiff. No reported rental income or financial disclosures, despite one property being rented out. That's wow. That's bizarre. I go back to my main point here, which is if you're getting it away with it at this level, why am I following the rules? Why are you following? Why are any of us following the rules if freaking pencil neck Schiff over here, longest, thinnest neck he's ever seen, quote President Trump, not a long ball hitter, big head. If he's not following the rules, why should I? Now, here's the status on that. A criminal referral was sent to the DOJ in July of 2025. Grand jury has reportedly been impaneled, but no charges have been filed yet. Schiff has denied wrongdoing, called it a baseless smear that we have paperwork evidence of. On this particular instance, I'm not super confident. I wish I could say that I was more confident that this would lead to something, but I don't think it will. Reason being, because if it is a federal grand jury, I don't know where the grand jury is. If it's in D.C., even if it's in California, I don't trust them. This is the same legal process. If we were with where did we talk about this? This might have been 2 days ago on the Real America's Voice show, Turning Point tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. If you don't watch that, we talked about the sandwich chucker. I think we all saw that video of the guy that chucked the Subway sandwich at the federal officer in Washington, D.C. as President Trump decided, hey, we're going to make this all better. And the mayor actually agrees and this crime has gone down. But anyways, a guy who happened to work for the DOJ chucked a sandwich at one of the D.C. officers and the federal officers in D.C. and the federal grand jury that was assembled failed to indict him for a felony assault. So they just charged him with misdemeanor assault. So that's there. But all of this is to say, yeah, it's been recommended to the DOJ. A grand jury has been assembled. And unfortunately, I don't know how much I trust that grand jury if they exist in, one, the super liberal place of Washington, D.C., or two, the even more liberal place of Los Angeles, California. So that's what's happening there. Possible penalties up to 30 years per count if convicted, plus fines. Now, that's according to Grok. Sometimes that gets that wrong, so take that for what it's worth. I am not a legal professional. As a guy who almost went to law school, I was this close. I don't actually know what the legit penalty is, but if that's the case, it very well could be that Adam Schiff will be in prison. I'm not sure how many tears I would cry over that. He's not a good person and appears to be a mortgage fraudster, liar, face. On to Letitia James. Letitia James is the New York Attorney General. She's the one that, quote unquote, successfully got that civil suit on President Trump, which just got thrown out, the whole fine, the $500 million fine that they were going to try and make him pay for the crime that he committed that actually had no victims and everyone in the deal walked away happy. The people that he paid off, the banks, his company, everything was fine. It was all kosher. And no. The government is mad. Therefore, we're going to charge you in a civil suit using some twisted legal gymnastics that nobody quite understands. But anyways, that's her claim to fame. She ran on the idea of, I'm going to get Donald Trump. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know why I gave her that voice. I don't know if that's appropriate. I'm not sure that's how she sounds. I don't actually know that how she sounds. The only videos I've seen of her are videos of her saying, when I get into office, I'm still doing the voice, I'm going to get Donald Trump. And she went into office and she charged Donald Trump with some crazy thing, and it got thrown out in its first appeals court. So there's that. Same guy, Bill Pulte, alleges that James misrepresented a Virginia property as her primary residence on mortgage applications to secure better terms, when her primary residence was actually in New York. The evidence cited bank records and mortgage forms showing false declarations, discrepancies, and residency claims for tax purposes. Again, I don't blame her. If you can, you should. You should do it within the legal bounds, Letitia, which I don't think she did, which allegedly she did not. But I don't blame people. Remember when President Trump was running for the first time in 2015? I think it was one of the big Republican debates. Somebody had asked him, which, by the way, I don't know, I hope there's too many tangents that flutter into my head recently. I was going to go off on the tangent of, I don't know why Republicans allow left-wing media to moderate their debates. That's crazy and stupid. But they did, and they were doing that, and they still sometimes do that. But during that debate, somebody said, you don't pay any taxes. And rather than try to obfuscate the question like a normal politician would, President Trump goes, yeah, that makes me smart. And that's when I decided I was going to vote. That was like, that's, okay, this is my guy. Yeah, it is good to try and avoid as many taxes as possible. So I don't even necessarily blame Miss James for trying to avoid taxes. Now, she should have done it legally, right? Obviously. If you can find a loophole, exploit it. Blow that thing open. Don't pay as little tax as you possibly can. But also, you can't lie about it. That's kind of a big one. Let's see. So the big thing is her Virginia property. She says, this is my primary residence. Therefore, you get better taxes because living in New York City is, or in New York at large is very expensive. They're a very high tax state. But also a big one there is the New York Constitution. The state constitution says, hey, the attorney general, this may sound crazy, has to live here. Right? The state attorney general of New York should live in New York. I think that's reasonable. That's fair. That makes sense. But here's where that is. A criminal referral sent to the DOJ in early 2025. So this one's been going on for a while. Grand jury proceedings reported, but no yet indictments. James has obviously dismissed the claims. No updates active as of August 2025. The possible penalties carry up to 30 years in prison and up to $1 million in fines per violation. Similar to those involving Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen, interestingly enough, both convicted of mortgage fraud, which we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But like I said, if all of these people are getting away with mortgage fraud and it's been happening for this long, one, who else is doing it? Two, why am I not doing it? Why are we all not doing it? If you're going to fly under the radar, unless you're just like this massive figure as these three are, why would you not? The last one on here is the Fed governor that President Trump fired. She's suing the administration saying, hey, you can't do that. Now, the law does say the president can fire with cause, and his cause, according to the administration, is, hey, mortgage fraud, yet again. Libs are trying to play the race card, too. It's like, oh, it's the first black woman chair. Yeah, she got appointed by Joe Biden in 2022. Calm down. It's not that. It's the mortgage fraud thing. In 2021, prior to her nomination, Cook allegedly took out mortgages on 2 homes, one in Michigan and one in Georgia, within a 2-week period, claiming they were both primary residents to get the rates as low as 3%. Why aren't all my properties my primary residence? That's what if I take money out and I refinance a property, if I claim that that's my primary residence, is anybody going to look into it? I don't think I have a high enough profile to like make that a thing. Mortgage documents of the evidence cited, no rental income reported to the Fed for financial disclosures. In other words, all of the same things. The potential penalties, same as above. Mortgage fraud, I guess, carries up to 30 years. I need to check that. That sounds excessive, but also, I don't know if Adam Schiff got hit with a 30-year sentence. Again, not sure how many tears I'd cry over it. Not sure I'd be balled up in a corner, weeping at the possible imprisonment of the guy with the smallest, thinnest neck, Adam Schiff, Adam Bull Schiff, as we like to call him. Some people call him. So there's that. So we will keep an eye on that and see, if anything ever comes of this. Unfortunately, I'm not optimistic, especially when you're looking at grand juries that just decided, hey, no, the guy who chucked the sandwich at the federal police officer, we're not going to charge him. That same process being the case for all of these folks, I unfortunately don't have a ton of optimism to see anybody face any real penalty. So there's that. I did tease something at the beginning of what I thought this was a broader... I don't even remember what I said. I was talking about something in the beginning that what the main point of this was. And hopefully I got around to it at some point. But wow, that's on me. I'll keep better track of my own thoughts as we move along and move forward.